Rich has his knight character work out every morning and practice doing hand drills to test his agility. He'll need 4 hours a day for 3 months of game time in order to earn a difficult test for advancement. Maximum practice. A character may only be forced to practice for a number of hours equal to 3 times his will exponent per day. The most a character can practice in a day, no matter the will exponent, is 20 hours in a day. But sleep deprivation is an excellent source of fort tests to resist fatigue and stress. Using practice in the game. Sometimes a player will indicate that his character is undertaking some long task like wandering in the countryside, working on the farm, or meditating in the hills. These periods count as practice for applicable skills and abilities. Anytime a player indicates some form of action for his character that is cool but otherwise has no direct effect on driving the game forward, the in-game time should be logged towards practice for the applicable abilities. Practice can also help bridge time for a character when a player has been absent from the table and wishes to reintroduce his character. Okay, you've been gone for about a year of game time, why don't you spread a year's practice among your skills? Nothing can advance more than one. Alternately, a character might only get a week or 2 practice, not enough time to earn a test. Log the segments of time practiced. Once they equal the full cycle, take a test towards advancement. Learning new skills. Root stats. Every skill has a stat or combination of stats on which it is based. This is called its root. Skills are listed with their roots in the character burner. The root for sword is agility. Beginner's luck. As mentioned in the testing your abilities section, when a character doesn't have an appropriate skill, he may test against his beginner's luck at a double obstacle penalty. Beginner's luck dice are equal to the root stat of the skill. Not half the stat, the full dice. For skills with 2 roots, choose which stats to take the test on. Take note that the first test towards learning a skill listed as sorceress type must come from instruction, rather than practice or beginner's luck. Once you've earned that test, you can use beginner's luck and practice. Aptitude. Aptitude in Burning Wheel indicates the number of tests a character needs in order to gain a new skill. Aptitude is equal to 10 minus the root stat. If the root is a combination of 2 or more stats, the aptitude is 10 minus the average of root stats, rounded down. A character with B4 agility has 6 aptitude for learning the sword skill, 10 minus his exponent 4 agility. Beginner's luck for learning. When using beginner's luck, it's possible to learn new skills. However, the obstacles for advancement are factored slightly differently. When testing the root stat, note the obstacle before doubling. If the obstacle would count as routine, and thus not actually count, for advancing the stat, you know to test towards learning the skill. If the beginner's luck test before doubling would count as difficult or challenging for the stat, know to test for advancing the root stat. If there are disadvantages to be applied to the test, add them to the base obstacle for determining the test for advancement, but don't double them. Add them to the final obstacle after doubling when making the test. I have a B4 agility. I'm shooting unskilled at an orc with a hunting bow. It's an OB2 test doubled to 4 due to the beginner's luck rules. An OB2 test counts as a routine test towards agility, so the test is logged towards learning the bow skill. If the test had been OB3, that would be a difficult test for agility. I'd take that test towards advancing the stat. If the orc was carrying a shield, that would add +1 OB to my test. So the obstacle for advancement would be 3, difficult, but the obstacle to hit him would be 5, 2 doubled +1. Opening the skill. Once you meet the aptitude requirement, your character opens the skill. Write it in the skills section of your character sheet. The starting exponent for all skills is half of the root, or the average of 2 roots, rounded down. With B4 agility, I open the sword skill after 6 beginner's luck tests. The skill opens at half the root stat. That's a B2 sword for my character. Once the skill opens, it advances normally, like any other skill. Shade and new skills. A new skill opens with the same shade as its root. If the root has 2 shades, the skill opens at the darker shade, but you add 2 to the total before factoring the root. The Monster Burner chapter, Grey and White Math, is the definitive source for all things shaded. See also the Heroic and Supernatural chapter in this book. Learning from another. Characters may learn from each other in-game. To teach, the character must have the skill to be taught. The exponent of the skill must be equal to or higher than the student's. Instruction obstacles. To begin the process, the instructor must pass an instruction test. The obstacle for the instruction test depends on the level of test the instructor wishes to give the student. 1 for a routine test, 2 for a difficult test, and 3 for a challenging test. Add a penalty for the type of skill, plus 2 ob medicinal and military, plus 3 ob sorceress and special, plus 1 ob for artist and school of thought. Other skill types do not carry a penalty. If the test is failed, then the time spent with the instructor merely counts as practice. Furthermore, either the student is at plus 1 ob to his next test in that area, or the instructor suffers a plus 1 ob to further instruct his student. GM's call. Test me. Instructors can give their students tests for advancement or tests for learning a new skill. The obstacle of a test to be given to the student can't be higher than the instructor's skill in the area. If you have a sword B4, you can only teach up to ob 4 tests. That means you can't give challenging tests to anyone with a skill exponent of 4 or higher. Nor can you give difficult tests to a character with a skill of 6 or higher. Students don't roll in this process. They accept instruction and either note the tests for advancement or note the practice time. Instruction time. The time for each instruction test is days equal to 10 minus the instructor's will plus 10 minus the student's will, plus the obstacle of the test on offer. The instructor can offer his student obstacles for a test equal to or less than his skill level. An instructor with a will B5, 5 days, can teach a student with a will of B4, 6 days, one test in 11 days, plus days equal to the obstacle of the test. If he was schooling his student's B4 sword skill and wanted to give him a difficult test, ob 3, then the total time would be 11 days plus 3 from the obstacle, 14 days altogether. After the required time, the student earns a test for advancement. All day, every day. Instruction eats up all of the character's free time. He may not practice other skills during that time. Learning training skills. A character may learn training skills, such as armor training or formation fighting, in the course of his life. Aptitude requirements are the same as for normal skills, but tests can only be earned via practice or instruction. You can't use beginner's luck to learn a training skill.